Emily Carter dragged her suitcase across the cracked linoleum floor of her new apartment, the wheels squeaking in protest. The air smelled faintly of mildew and lemon cleaner, a strange mix that clung to the back of her throat. It was her first time living off campus, a step toward independence after a freshman year spent in the claustrophobic dorms of Westbridge University. The apartment, a small two-bedroom in a weathered brick complex just outside the Massachusetts college town, wasn't much to look at. Peeling paint on the walls, a flickering fluorescent bulb in the kitchen, but it was hers, or rather theirs. She hadn't met her roommate yet, but the leasing office had paired her with a senior named Claire Monroe, described in the email as friendly and reliable. Emily hoped that meant no late-night parties or dishes piling up in the sink. The late August sun filtered through a grimy window, casting long shadows across the empty living room. Emily dropped her suitcase and checked her phone. 3:47 p.m. Claire was supposed to be here by now. She wandered to the kitchen, where a single mug sat on the counter, its handle chipped. A note was tucked beneath it, written in neat, looping cursive. "Welcome, Emily. Can't wait to meet you, Claire." Emily smiled, a knot of nervous anticipation loosening in her chest. Maybe this would work out. She unpacked her things, hanging clothes in a closet that creaked ominously, and stacking textbooks on a wobbly desk. The second bedroom door was closed, and she hesitated before knocking lightly. "Claire, you in there?" No answer. The silence felt heavy, like the apartment was holding its breath, shrugging it off. Emily continued unpacking, humming to drown out the quiet. By 5 p.m., she was starving. She ordered a pizza and sat cross-legged on the floor, scrolling through her phone. The leasing office had sent a confirmation email with the lease details, and she skimmed it absent-mindedly. Her name was listed as the sole tenant. Odd, she frowned, double-checking the email. No mention of Claire. Probably a clerical error, she thought, but a small prickle of unease settled in her gut. She texted the landlord, a gruff man named Mr. Hargrove, to clarify. His reply came quickly. "Lease is in your name only. No record of a Claire Monroe. Check with the university housing office." Emily stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen. The university had set up the roommate match, hadn't they? She opened her laptop and logged into the student portal. Navigating to the housing section, her profile listed her as living alone in apartment 3B. No room. Her pulse quickened. Before she could overthink it, the doorbell buzzed, making her jump. The pizza guy handed her a steaming box, and as she fumbled for cash, a cheerful voice called from behind her, "Oh, thank God, I'm starving." Emily turned to see a girl about her age, maybe a little older, leaning against the kitchen counter, like she'd been there all along. She had dark hair pulled into a messy bun, sharp green eyes, and a grin that felt instantly disarming. "You must be Emily." "I'm Claire." Emily blinked, clutching the pizza box. Yeah. Hi, I didn't hear you come in." Claire laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "I'm sneaky like that. Been here a bit, just unpacking in my room." "You settled in okay?" She grabbed a slice of pizza without asking, flopping onto the couch with an ease that made the apartment feel less empty. "Yeah, just getting there," Emily said, setting the box on the coffee table. She studied Claire, who was already devouring her slice, sauce smudging her chin. She seemed so normal, friendly, even. The housing mix-up could wait. "So you're a senior, right? What's your major?" "Art history," Claire said, licking her fingers. "I'm kind of obsessed with old paintings, the stories behind them." "You?" "Psychology." "I'm a sophomore." Emily hesitated, then added, "I was just checking the lease, and it only had my name." "Weird, right?" Claire's smile didn't falter, but her eyes flicked to Emily's laptop, still open on the couch. Bureaucracy's a mess. Probably just a glitch. I've been here since last semester, so I'm in the system somewhere. She waved a hand dismissively. Want to watch something? I've got Netflix on my laptop. Emily nodded, pushing the unease aside. They spent the evening binge-watching a true crime docu. Claire's commentary sharp and funny, making Emily laugh until her sides ached. By midnight, they were sprawled on the couch, empty pizza box between them, sharing stories about high school disasters and first crushes. Claire had a knack for storytelling, her voice pulling Emily in like a campfire tale. She mentioned a local legend about their apartment complex, some girl who vanished in the early 2000s, never found. People say her ghost still lingers, Claire said, wiggling her fingers dramatically. Spooky, right? Emily laughed, but a chill ran down her spine. You believe in ghosts? Claire's grin turned sly. Only the ones with good stories. The next morning, Emily woke to the smell of coffee. Claire was in the kitchen, pouring 2 mugs. Morning sunshine, she said, sliding one over. You sleep like a rock. Thanks, Emily said, rubbing her eyes. She glanced at Claire's bedroom door, still closed. You're up early. Always am. Got a class at... Claire sipped her coffee, her gaze lingering on Emily a moment too long. You should check out the campus coffee shop. Best lattes in town. Emily spent the day settling into her routine classes, a quick lunch, a trip to the bookstore. Everywhere she went, she mentioned Claire to classmates, trying to gauge if anyone knew her. No one did. Claire Monroe. Never heard of her, said Mia, a girl from her psych class. You sure she's a senior? Even her professor, Doc Lang, marked her as a single-occupant tenant when she casually mentioned her roommate. By afternoon, the prickle of unease had grown into a gnawing. Back at the apartment, Emily rummaged through her desk for a pen, and found an old brass key tucked in the back of the drawer, its edges worn smooth. It didn't match any lock in the apartment. She held it up when Claire walked in, carrying a stack of art books. Hey, you know what this goes to? Claire glanced at it, her expression unreadable for a split second. Probably junk from the last tenant. This place is old, full of weird leftovers. She set her books down and changed the subject. Want to hit up a diner later? Emily nodded, but her mind was on the key now tucked in her pocket. That night, she couldn't sleep. The apartment felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies every creak and hum. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying her conversations with Claire. The housing mix-up, the key, the way no one seemed to know her roommate. It didn't add up. Around 2 a.m., she heard it, a faint scratching, like nails on wood coming from Claire's bedroom door. Heart pounding. Emily slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the hall. The scratching stopped as she approached. Claire, she whispered, knocking softly. No answer. She tried the doorknob, expecting it to be locked, but it turned easily. The door creaked open, revealing an empty room. No bed, no clothes, no art books, just bare walls and a dusty floor. The air felt cold, like stepping into a freezer. Emily's breath caught. She backed away, her bare feet silent on the linoleum. The scratching started again, louder, from behind the door she'd just opened. She spun around, but the room was still empty. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, and she grabbed it, hands shaking. A text from an unknown number. Look closer. Attached was a photo of the apartment's living room, taken from above the couch where she'd been sleeping hours ago. In the corner, barely visible, was a shadow that looked like Claire watching her. Emily dropped the phone, her pulse roaring in her ears. She grabbed the brass key from her pocket, clutching it like a lifeline. The apartment felt alive, the walls pressing in. She ran to the front door, fumbling with the lock, but when she flung it open, Claire stood there smiling. Going somewhere? She asked, her voice soft, but edged with something darker. Emily stumbled back, the key digging into her palm. Who are you? She whispered. Claire's smile widened, her green eyes glinting in the dim light. I'm your roommate. Emily, don't you trust me? The door slammed shut behind her, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Emily's scream caught in her throat as the apartment plunged into darkness. Emily woke with a start, her heart hammering against her ribs. The apartment was quiet, the early morning light filtering through the grimy living room window. She was sprawled on the couch, a blanket draped over her, though she didn't remember grabbing one. Her phone lay on the coffee table, screen dark, the memory of last night, the empty room, the photo. Claire's eerie smile felt like a fever dream, but the brass key still sat on the table, glinting faintly. She grabbed it, her fingers trembling, and checked her phone. The text from the unknown number was gone, as if it had never existed. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen. Claire was there, humming softly, pouring 2 mugs like nothing had happened. "Morning," she said, her voice bright. "You look like you saw a ghost. Bad dreams?" Emily stared, her mouth dry. Claire looked so normal, dark hair tied back, wearing a faded Westbridge University hoodie, her green eyes warm and inviting. But the memory of that empty bedroom, the shadow in the photo, gnawed at her. "I couldn't sleep," Emily managed, her voice hoarse. "Last night was weird." Claire raised an eyebrow, sliding a mug toward her. "Weird how? Too much pizza?" She laughed, the sound light and disarming, but Emily noticed her glance flicker to the key in her hand. "I went to your room," Emily said, watching Claire's face. "It was empty. No furniture. Nothing. And then you were at the door. But I didn't hear you come in." Claire's smile didn't waver, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "Empty? That's wild. I was in there all night. Probably passed out. This place is old, creaky floors, bad lighting, plays tricks on you." She sipped her coffee casual, but her fingers tightened around the mug. "You sure you weren't sleepwalking?" Emily wanted to push, to demand answers, but Claire's easy confidence made her doubt herself. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe the stress of moving was messing with her head. She pocketed the key and forced a smile. "Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna head to campus. Got a meeting with my advisor." "Cool," Claire said, already turning back to the counter. "Catch you later. Oh, and check the mailbox. Think I saw a package for you." Emily grabbed her backpack and left, the weight of Claire's gaze lingering on her back. Outside, the air was crisp, the campus a short walk through tree-lined streets. The apartment complex, a squat brick building, with faded awnings, looked unremarkable in daylight, but Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She checked the mailbox, empty. No package. Another lie. Or just a mistake. She texted the landlord again, asking about Claire. His reply was curt. "No. Claire Monroe in our records. Solo lease, like I said. On campus." Emily stopped by the housing office, a cramped room with flickering fluorescents. The clerk, a bored undergrad with a nose ring, barely looked up from her phone. "No record of a Claire Monroe sharing your unit," she said, tapping at her computer. "You're listed as the only tenant in 3B. Maybe she's subletting illegally." Emily's stomach twisted. "But the university paired us. I have emails." The clerk shrugged. "System glitches happen. Send me the emails, and I'll check." Emily forwarded the housing confirmation, but when she opened her inbox, the email about Claire, the one introducing her as her roommate, was gone. Her pulse quickened. She thanked the clerk and hurried out, her mind racing. In her psychology class, Emily barely focused, doodling the brass keys shape in her notebook. She leaned over to Mia, the classmate she'd met yesterday. "Hey, you ever hear of a senior named Claire Monroe, art history major?" Mia frowned, shaking her head. "No, I know most of the seniors in that department. My boyfriend's in it." "No, Claire. Why?" "Just my roommate," Emily said, her voice trailing off. Mia's confusion mirrored her own. After class, she headed to the library, determined to find something, anything about Claire. The campus library was a maze of stacks, smelling of old paper and dust. She searched the student directory online. No Claire Monroe. She tried social media, scrolling through profiles, but found nothing. It was like Claire didn't exist. Then, on a whim, she searched the university's digital archives,
for news about the apartment complex. A 2003 article popped up, buried in the local paper's archives. Westbridge student missing from off-campus apartment. The student, Sarah Wells, 19, had vanished from Emily's building. The article mentioned Sarah's roommate, unnamed, who claimed Sarah had left suddenly without a trace. No suspects, no leads. The case went cold. Emily's skin prickled as she read the description of Sarah. Petite, brown hair, psychology major. She printed the article and tucked it into her bag, her hands shaking. Back at the apartment, she hesitated at the door, key in hand. The building felt too quiet, the hallway dim despite the afternoon sun. Inside, Claire was sprawled on the couch, sketching in a notebook, her art book scattered around her. "Hey, you're back early," she said, not looking up. "Find that package." "No package," Emily said, her voice sharper than intent. She dropped her bag and sat across from Claire, the article burning a hole in her mind. "I went to the housing office. They said I'm the only tenant here, no record of you." Claire's pencil paused, but her expression stayed calm. "Like I said, bureaucracy's I've been here a while. Probably slipped through the cracks." She closed her notebook, her smile tight. "You're overthinking it, Relax." Emily's fingers curled around the brass key in her pocket. "I also found an article. A girl went missing from this apartment in 2000. Ever hear about her?" Claire's eyes flicked up, sharp and unreadable. For a moment, the air felt heavy, like before a storm. Then she laughed, leaning back. "You're into true crime, huh?" "Yeah. I know the story. Creepy, right? But that was forever ago. Nothing to do with us." She stood, stretching. "I'm grabbing a shower. Wanna order takeout later?" Emily nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. As soon as Claire's bedroom door closed, she opened her bag and pulled out the article. The grainy photo showed Sarah outside the complex, wearing a jacket with a distinctive embroidered patch, a red rose. Emily's breath caught. She'd seen that jacket in Claire's closet yesterday, hanging among her clothes. She crept to Claire's room, the door slightly ajar. The shower was running, steam curling out. She slipped inside, heart pounding, and opened the closet. The rose-patched jacket was there, faded but unmistakable. Her hands trembled as she backed out, nearly knocking over a stack of Claire's art books. One fell open, revealing a sketch of the apartment's living room, but not as it was now. The furniture was different, older, and in the corner was a figure that looked like Emily sleeping on the couch. The date scrawled beneath it, August 2000. Emily stumbled back, her breath shallow. The shower shut off, and she hurried to her room, locking the door. She sat on her bed, clutching the article and the key, her mind spiraling. Claire wasn't just lying, she was hiding something impossible. Emily needed answers, but confronting Claire felt dangerous. She remembered her neighbor Jake, a lanky junior, who'd introduced himself when she moved in, offering to help with heavy boxes. He'd mentioned hearing weird noises from her apartment. Maybe he'd seen Claire, or knew something. She knocked on Jake's door. Unit 3A. Her nerves He opened it, wearing a faded band tee, his hair a mess. "Hey Emily, what's up? Have you ever seen my roommate, Claire?" she asked, keeping her voice low. Jake frowned, leaning against the doorframe. "Roommate? I thought you lived alone. I've only ever seen you coming and going." He hesitated, then added, "But I've heard stuff scratching, voices, late at night. Figured it was you studying or something." Emily's stomach dropped. "Can you check something for me?" "The security footage. The building has cameras, right?" Jake nodded. "Yeah. There's a system in the basement. I know the maintenance guy. He owes me a favor." "Want me to pull the tapes?" "Please," Emily said. "I need to know if Claire's on them." That evening Jake texted her to meet in the basement. The room was damp, lit by a single bulb, the air thick with the hum of old machinery. Jake fiddled with a dusty monitor, pulling up footage from the past week. They watched clips of Emily entering and leaving the building alone, even on days she swore Claire had been with her, walking to the coffee shop or carrying groceries. The footage showed only Emily. Her legs felt weak. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. Jake shrugged, uneasy. "Tech's not perfect. Maybe the camera missed her." But Emily knew better. Back in the apartment, Claire was cooking, the smell of garlic filling the air. "You're late," she said, not turning from the stove. "Everything okay?" Emily's throat tightened. She wanted to confront her to demand the truth about the jacket, the sketch, the footage. But Claire's voice had an edge, like she already knew what Emily had been doing. Instead, Emily forced a smile. "Yeah, just a long day." That night, she locked her bedroom door and pushed a chair against it. Sleep wouldn't come. Around 3, she heard it again, the scratching faint but insistent from Claire's room. She clutched the brass key, its edges biting into her palm. Her phone buzzed, and she grabbed it, expecting another cryptic text. Instead, it was a notification from the housing office. No record of forwarded email regarding Claire Monroe. "Please verify details." Emily's blood ran cold. She opened her photos, scrolling to a selfie she'd taken with Claire on move-in, but the image showed only Emily, smiling alone on the couch. The scratching grew louder, and then stopped. Footsteps approached her door, slow and deliberate. Emily held her breath as the knob rattled softly. Then a whisper came through the wood, low and chilling. "Some secrets are better left buried." She didn't sleep again that night, the key her only anchor as the apartment seemed to close in around her.
Emily's hands shook as she clutched the brass key, its worn edges biting into her palm. The whisper from behind her bedroom door, "Some secrets are better left buried," still echoed in her mind, though the apartment was silent now. The early morning light creeping through her window, she hadn't slept, her eyes burning from staring at the ceiling, replaying the impossible. Claire's empty room, the missing email, the security footage showing Emily alone. The sketch dated 2003. Her phone sat on the nightstand. The selfie with Claire, now just Emily smiling alone on the couch. It wasn't a glitch or a dream. Something was wrong with this apartment, with Claire, and Emily was caught in it. She forced herself out of bed, her legs unsteady. The smell of coffee drifted from the kitchen, but she wasn't falling for Claire's routine again. She grabbed her backpack, the newspaper article about Sarah Wells' 2003 disappearance tucked inside, and slipped out before Claire could emerge. The hallway of the apartment complex felt too narrow, the air thick with the faint hum of fluorescent lights. She needed answers, and she wasn't going to find them here. On campus, Emily headed straight for the library, her breath shallow as she wove through students laughing and sipping overpriced lattes. The library's archive room was a quiet refuge, its stacks of dusty microfilm and old computers, a stark contrast to the bustling quad outside. She settled at a terminal, the article about Sarah Wells spread out beside her. The grainy photo of Sarah with her red rose patched jacket stared back, a mirror to the one in Claire's closet. Emily's fingers hovered over the keyboard, then typed Westbridge University missing students apartment complex. The search pulled up more than she expected. A 1997 article detailed another disappearance. Lisa Harper, 20, vanished from Unit 3B. Emily's apartment. Like Sarah, Lisa was a psychology major. Petite, brown-haired, her roommate unnamed, claimed Lisa had left town suddenly. No leads. Case cold. Another article from 1989 mentioned a third student, Rachel Cole, also from 3B. Same story. Gone without a trace. An unnamed roommate, the last to see her. Emily's pulse raced as she printed the articles. A pattern emerging. Every few years, a girl disappeared from her apartment, always leaving behind a roommate no one could identify. She cross-referenced the dates with the university's housing records, accessed through a public database. The leases for Unit 3B were spotty, but one name appeared repeatedly: Claire Monroe, listed as a tenant in 1989, 1997, 2003. And now, Emily's stomach churned. It couldn't be the same person. Claire looked barely 22, not old enough to have lived here decades ago. Was it a family name, a clerical error, or something worse? Her phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Found something weird in the footage. Meet me at the coffee shop, 1 p.m. Emily glanced at the time. 11:30 a.m. She gathered her notes and headed out, the brass key heavy in her pocket. The coffee shop, a cozy spot off campus, was packed with students, the air thick with espresso and chatter. Jake was at a corner table, nursing a black coffee, his laptop open. He looked up as she approached, his face pale. "You okay?" Emily asked, sliding into the seat across from him. Jake shook his head, lowering his voice. "I went through more of the security tapes last night. You're not gonna like this." He turned his laptop, showing a grainy still from the building's entrance, time-stamped 2 nights ago. Emily was walking in, carrying a grocery bag alone, but in the corner of the frame, barely visible, was a shadow that didn't match her movements. It was humanoid, indistinct, but its edges seemed to flicker, like a bad TV signal. "This shows up in half the clips," Jake said. "Always when you're alone, never with Claire." Emily's throat tightened. "That's impossible. She was with me, we got groceries together." Jake leaned closer. "I also checked the basement archives. The complex has cameras going back to the 90s. I found footage from 2003, the night Sarah Wells went missing. It's you, Emily, walking into 3B, alone, same time Sarah was last seen." Emily's blood ran cold. "That's not me. I wasn't even born in 2003. "I know," Jake said, his voice unsteady. "But it's your face, your clothes, everything. I don't know what's going on, but this place is messed up." Emily pulled out the articles, showing him the pattern of disappearances. Jake's eyes widened as he read. "This is like a serial killer's playbook. But no bodies, no evidence, just gone." He hesitated, then added, "I heard noises again last night, from your apartment, scratching, like something clawing at the walls." Emily's mind flashed to the scratching behind Claire's door. She wanted to tell Jake about the sketch, the jacket, the whisper, but fear stopped her. What if he thought she was crazy? Instead she said, "I need to talk to Claire. Tonight." Jake grabbed her arm as she stood. "Be careful. Okay, I don't trust her. Or that apartment." Back at 3B, the air felt heavy, the lights dimmer than they should be. Claire was on the couch, sketching again, her notebook closed before Emily could see. "Hey stranger," Claire said, her smile bright, but her eyes sharp. "You've been gone all day. Find anything fun?" Emily's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "I was at the library, found some old articles about this place. Girls went missing here. 1989, all from this apartment. Know anything about that?" Claire's smile faltered, just for a second. She set her pencil down, leaning back. "You're really digging, huh? Those are just stories, Em. Old buildings have histories. Doesn't mean they're haunted." Emily's fingers curled around the key in her pocket. "One of the girls, Sarah Wells, had a jacket like the one in your closet, red rose patch. And your name's on the lease records, Claire, from 2003. And before that." Claire's eyes locked onto hers, unblinking. The room felt colder, the air pressing against Emily's skin. "You're smarter than I thought," Claire said, her voice low, almost amused. "But you're looking in the wrong places. I've been here longer than you think, Emily. Some things, they don't stay buried." Emily's breath hitched. "Who are you, Claire? Really?" Claire stood, moving closer, her movements fluid, almost unnatural. "I'm your roommate," she said, her smile twisting into something darker. "And you're closer to the truth than you know." She reached out, her fingers brushing Emily's arm, cold as ice. Emily jerked back, stumbling against the coffee table. "Don't run," Claire whispered, her voice echoing like it came from the walls. "You can't outrun what's already inside." Emily bolted to her room, locking the door. Her hands shook as she pulled out the articles, spreading them across her bed. She needed something concrete, something to prove she wasn't losing her mind. The brass key caught her eye, glinting in the lamplight. She'd found it in the desk, hidden like a secret. On impulse, she checked the desk again.
running her fingers along the drawers. A faint seam caught her nail. A hidden panel in the back. She pried it open, revealing a small rusted lockbox. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a stack of Polaroids, yellowed with age. The first showed a girl with Sarah's jacket, smiling outside the complex. Another showed a different girl. Then another, each matching the descriptions of Lisa Harper, Rachel Cole, and others from the articles. The last photo stopped her heart. It was her, or someone who looked exactly like her, standing in the apartment's living room, wearing clothes she'd never owned. The date, scrawled on the back, August 2003. Emily dropped the photo, her vision blurring. Footsteps approached her door, slow and deliberate. She stuffed the photos into her backpack, her mind racing. She needed help, someone who knew more than Jake. The articles mentioned a detective, Officer Hayes, who'd worked Sarah's case. If he was still alive, he might know something. She slipped out of the apartment, avoiding Claire's room, and headed to the police station. The desk sergeant, a tired man with graying hair, told her Hayes had retired, but lived nearby. He gave her an address. Warning: he's not big on visitors. Don't expect a warm welcome. Hayes's house was a rundown bungalow on the edge of town, the yard overgrown with weeds. Emily knocked, her heart in her throat. A man in his 60s answered, his face lined with suspicion. "What do you want?" he growled. "I'm Emily Carter. I live in Unit 3B, Westbridge apartment. I read about Sarah Wells. I need to know what happened." Hayes's eyes narrowed, but he stepped aside, letting her in. The house smelled of stale cigarette smoke, papers and case files scattered across a cluttered table. "You're stirring up trouble," he said, sitting heavily. That case was a dead end. No evidence, no witnesses, just a roommate who swore Sarah left town. "Did you ever meet the roommate?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. Hayes shook his head. "Never found her. She was gone by the time we followed up." "Why are you asking?" Emily hesitated, then showed him the Polaroid of herself, dated 2003. Hayes's face paled. "Where'd you get this?" "Found it in my apartment. My roommate, Claire. She's not in any records, but her name's on old leases. And I think she's connected to Sarah, Lisa, Rachel, all of them." Hayes leaned back, rubbing his temples. "You need to stop digging, kid. There's things about that place. People higher up made sure those cases stayed cold. I don't know why, but they didn't want answers." He stood, ushering her out. "Leave it alone. For your own sake." Emily left, her mind spinning. Back at the apartment, she found a note on her door in Claire's neat cursive. "Don't trust Jake." Her blood ran cold. She checked the living room, but Claire was gone. The air felt wrong, heavy, like the walls were watching. She sat on her bed, the Polaroid spread out, her own face staring back from 2003. The scratching started again, louder, from Claire's room. Emily's phone buzzed. A new photo sent from her own number. It showed her sleeping in bed, taken from above, Claire's shadow looming in the corner. Emily's heart pounded as she stared at the photo on her phone, her own sleeping form captured from an impossible angle, Claire's shadow lurking in the corner. The timestamp was from an hour ago, when she'd been at Hayes's house, not asleep in her bed. Her hands shook, the brass key and Polaroids scattered across her mattress, like pieces of a puzzle she couldn't solve. The apartment was silent, but the air felt thick, oppressive, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The scratching from Claire's room had stopped, but the note, "Don't trust Jake," burned in her mind. Was Claire warning her, or manipulating her? She couldn't tell anymore. She locked her bedroom door, shoving the chair against it for good measure, and stuffed the Polaroids and articles into her backpack. She needed to get out, to think, but the idea of leaving the apartment felt like stepping into a trap. Claire's words echoed, "You can't outrun what's already inside." Emily's skin crawled. She texted Jake, "Need to talk. Meet me at the coffee shop now." His reply was instant. "On my way." The coffee shop was a 10-minute walk, but every shadow on the street seemed to move. Every rustle of leaves, a whisper, She clutched the key in her pocket, its edges grounding her. Jake was already there when she arrived, hunched over a table in the back. His laptop glowed. His eyes were bloodshot, like he hadn't slept either. "You look freaked," he said, pushing a coffee toward her. "What happened?" Emily hesitated, glancing around the crowded shop. Students laughed. Baristas called out orders. But she felt exposed, like Claire could be watching. She leaned in, keeping her voice low. "I found photos in the apartment, old ones of the missing girls. One of them looks like me, dated 2003. And Claire, she's not just lying. She's not normal. Jake. The footage, the notes, the way no one else sees her. It's like she's not even real." Jake's brow furrowed. "I pulled more tapes last night. It's worse than I thought." He opened his laptop, showing a clip from the building's entrance, time-stamped 3 nights ago. Emily was walking in alone, but the shadow from the earlier footage was clearer now. A faint figure, humanoid, trailing her. "This shows up every time you're on camera," Jake said. "And I found something else. The maintenance guy let me into the basement again. There's a logbook. Goes back decades. Your apartment, 3B. It's been leased to a Claire Monroe. Every time someone went missing. 1918. But the signatures match, down to the loops in the letters. I took pictures." He showed her grainy photos of the logbook. Claire's name scrawled in identical cursive, across decades. "I think we need to get into the landlord's office. There's gotta be more leases, tenant records, something to explain this." Emily nodded, her mind racing. "Tonight, Hargrove's out of town. I heard him tell a neighbor. We can sneak in." They agreed to meet at 10 p.m. when the complex was quiet. Back at the apartment, Emily avoided Claire, who was humming in the kitchen, cooking something that smelled like burned sugar. "You're quiet today," Claire said, not turning from the stove. Her voice was light, but it carried an edge, like she knew Emily was hiding something. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just tired," Emily lied, slipping into her room. She locked the door, her heart pounding. The Polaroids were still in her backpack. The one of her dated 2003, staring up like a warning. She checked her phone again, but the photo of her sleeping was gone, just like the selfie with Claire. Her reality was unraveling, and Claire was at the center of it. At 9:45, Emily crept out, telling Claire she was grabbing a snack from the vending machine. The landlord's office was in the complex's basement, a cramped room behind a rusted metal door. Jake was waiting, a flashlight in hand. "Maintenance guy left the key under the mat," he whispered, unlocking the door. The office smelled of mildew and old paper, files stacked haphazardly on a desk. They rifled through drawers, finding leases, repair logs, and complaints. Emily's hands shook as she pulled out a folder labeled Unit 3. Inside were lease agreements, each signed by Claire Monroe. 1983, 1918. Each showed a girl who looked like Claire, but the photos aged strangely. Same face, same green eyes, but the clothes and hairstyles shifted with the decades. Emily's breath caught. This can't be her. She'd be old. Jake shook his head, pulling out another file. "There's more. Look." It was a police report from 1983. The first disappearance. Claire Monroe, 19, reported missing by her roommate. Unnamed. No body. No leads. She was the first, Jake said. But then her name shows up as the tenant after that. Over and over. It's like she never left. Before Emily could respond, the door creaked. Claire stood in the doorway, her smile cold, her eyes glinting in the dim light. "You two are nosy," she said, stepping inside. The air grew heavy, the temperature dropping. Jake froze, his flashlight flicker. Emily's heart raced, but she forced herself to speak. "Claire, what are you? Why's your name on all these leases?" Claire tilted her head, her smile twisting. "You're asking the wrong question, Emily. It's not about me. It's about you." She moved closer, her footsteps silent on the concrete floor. "You're tied to this place, just like I am. You always have been." Emily backed away, bumping into the desk. "I'm not like you. I just moved here." Claire laughed, a sound that echoed unnatural. "You think you chose this apartment? It chose you." and it won't let you go until it's done. She reached out, her fingers brushing Emily's arm, cold as frost. You can't leave, Emily. Not yet. Jake grabbed Emily's hand, pulling her toward the door. He shouted, but Claire's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. The flashlight fell, plunging them into darkness. Emily stumbled up the stairs, Jake's footsteps behind her. But when she reached the hallway, he was gone. The basement door slammed shut, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Emily ran to her apartment, locking herself inside. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jake. I'm okay. Got out through the back. Meet me tomorrow. But something felt wrong. The message was too calm, too clean. She tried calling him, but it went straight to voice. Her hands shook as she sat on her bed. The lease files and Polaroids spread out. Then she noticed something new. A journal, tucked under her pillow. It wasn't. The cover was worn. The pages yellowed, but the handwriting inside was hers. Looping. Familiar. Describing events she didn't remember. August 15, 2000. All worst. He's so easy to talk to. But I keep losing time. August 18. Found a key in the desk. Claire said. It's nothing. But I don't believe her. Emily's vision blurred. Her breath shallow. She flipped to the last entry. Dated yesterday. I don't know what's happening to me. I woke up outside holding a knife. Claire was there, smiling. The journal fell from her hands. She hadn't written this. She couldn't have. But it was her handwriting. Her words. The lights flickered, and Claire's voice came from the living room, soft and sing-song. Emily, you can't hide from it. Emily's door rattled, the chair shifting slightly. She grabbed her backpack, stuffing the journal inside, and climbed out her window onto the fire escape. The night air was cold, the campus lights distant. She ran to Jake's apartment, banging on the door, but no one answered. Her phone buzzed again. A photo sent from her own number. It showed Jake in the basement, his eyes wide with fear. Claire's shadow looming behind him. Emily's legs gave out, and she sank to the ground, the key digging into her palm. She needed to find Jake, to figure out what Claire was and why this was happening. She remembered Hayes's warning. People higher up made sure those cases stayed cold. Someone knew more than they were saying. She pulled out the articles, scanning for names. One mentioned a survivor from 1997. A girl who'd lived in 3B and moved out before Lisa Harper vanished. Her name was Lila Bennett, and she still lived in town. Emily stood, her resolve hardening. She'd find Lila, get answers and end whatever this was. But as she walked back to campus, the streetlights flickered, and a cold whisper brushed her ear. You're already part of. She spun around, but no one was there. The key in her pocket felt heavier, like it was pulling her back to the apartment, to Claire, to a truth she wasn't ready to face.
Emily's breath fogged in the chilly night air as she hurried through the empty streets of Westbridge, the brass key, a cold weight in her pocket. The whisper, "You're already part of it," still lingered, a ghost in her ears. Her phone was silent now, but the image of Jake terrified in the basement with Claire's shadow behind him burned in her mind. She didn't trust the text from Jake claiming he was okay. It felt like another of Claire's tricks. The journal, with its entries in Emily's handwriting describing events she couldn't remember, sat heavy in her backpack alongside the Polaroids and articles. She needed answers, and Lila Bennett, the 1997 survivor from Unit 3B, was her only lead. The address Emily had found for Lila was a rundown trailer park on the outskirts of town, a 20-minute bus ride from campus. The bus was nearly empty, its fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows. Emily clutched her backpack, the journal's words replaying in her head. I woke up outside, holding a knife. Claire was there, smiling. Her reflection in the bus window looked pale, hollow-eyed, like someone else was staring back. She shivered, pulling her jacket tighter. The key in her pocket seemed to pulse, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Lila's trailer was at the edge of the park, its paint peeling, windows covered with tattered curtains. Emily knocked, her heart pounding. No answer. She knocked again, louder, and a voice rasped from inside. "Who's there?" "Emily Carter," she called, her voice trembling. "I live in Unit 3B. Westbridge Apartments. I need to talk to you about what happened in 1997. The door creaked open, revealing a woman in her late 40s, her face lined with exhaustion, graying hair pulled into a messy bun. Her eyes, sharp and wary, scanned Emily. "You shouldn't be here," Lila said, but she stepped aside, letting Emily in. The trailer was cluttered, shelves stuffed with books and old photos. The air smelled of stale coffee and cigarette smoke. Lila gestured to a sagging couch, sitting across from Emily in a creaky chair. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice low, like she was afraid of being overheard. Emily pulled out the articles and Polaroids, spreading them on the coffee table. "Girls have been disappearing from my apartment. 1983, 1980, 1997, 2003. You lived there before Lisa Harper vanished. My roommate Claire. Her name's on the leases. Going back decades. She's not normal. I found these photos. One of me, dated before I was born. I need to know what you know." Lila's face paled, her hands trembling as she picked up the Polaroid of Emily dated 2003. "You look like her," she whispered. "Claire. The first one." She set the photo down, her eyes distant. "I was in 3B, in 97. My roommate was Claire Monroe. Charming, funny, always knew what to say, but she wasn't right. I'd wake up and find her watching me. Or things would move, keys, books, my necklace. Then I started losing time. Hours I couldn't account for." Emily's breath caught, like blackouts. Lila nodded, rolling up her sleeve to reveal a faint, jagged scar on her forearm. "One night I woke up in the alley behind the complex, covered in blood, holding a knife. Claire was there, smiling, like it was a game. I ran, moved out that week. Lisa moved in after me. She disappeared a month later." Lila's voice cracked. "I never told anyone. I was scared they'd think I did something to her." Emily's hand instinctively went to her own arm, where a faint mark had appeared 2 days ago, barely noticeable but eerily similar to Lila's scar. "What is Claire?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lila leaned forward, her eyes intense. "The apartment's cursed. It started in 83. When Claire, the first Claire, was murdered there. Her roommate killed her, out of jealousy, rage. I don't know, but it trapped her, tied her to that place. She's not a ghost. Not exactly. She's a memory. A loop, replaying the same betrayal. Every few years, she picks a new tenant. Someone connected to the first killer. You're part of it, Emily. That's why you're there." Emily's stomach twisted. "Connected? I'm not related to anyone here. I'm from Ohio." Lila shook her head. "It's not blood. It's something deeper. Guilt. Fate. I don't know. The apartment finds you. Claire needs you to finish what started in 83. To keep the cycle going." Emily's mind raced, the journal's entries flashing through her head. "Finish how? What does she want?" "She wants you to kill," Lila said flatly. "Or to die. That's the choice. I got out because I ran. But it cost me. I still dream about her. Still feel her watching." She touched her scar, her voice dropping. "You can't run forever. She'll find you." Emily's phone buzzed, making her jump. A text from an unknown number. "You're running out of time." Attached was a photo of her sitting in Lila's trailer, taken from behind her. She spun around, but the trailer was empty, the curtains still. Lila grabbed the phone, her face ashen. "She knows you're here. You need to leave now." Emily stumbled out, her heart pounding, and caught the last bus back to campus. The trailer park faded into the darkness, but the weight of Lila's words clung to her. A cycle, a curse. Claire is a memory of murder,
She couldn't wrap her head around it. But the scar on her arm, the journal, the photos all pointed to the same truth. She checked her phone again, hoping for a message from Jake. But there was nothing. Her gut told her he wasn't okay. Back at the apartment, the lights were off, the air cold and heavy. Claire was nowhere in sight. But a new note sat on the kitchen counter. You can't trust Lila either. Emily's skin crawled. She checked Claire's room. The door ajar. It wasn't empty anymore. Her bed, art books and rose-patch jacket were back, as if last night's bare room had never happened. Emily's head spun. She needed to find Jake, to make sure he was safe. But first, she had to confront the apartment itself. She pulled out the brass key, its surface warm now, almost alive. Lila's story about the curse made her think the key was more than a leftover from a past tenant. She searched the apartment, running her hands along walls, checking under furniture. In the living room, behind a loose baseboard, she found a small, hidden panel, its lock matching the key. Her hands trembled as she opened it, revealing a narrow crawl space. Inside was a wooden box, carved with strange spiraling symbols. She dragged it out, dust coating her finger. The box was heavy, its lid stuck. She pried it open, revealing a collection of objects. A locket, a hairpin, a class ring, each tied to a faded photo of a girl. Rachel, Lisa, Sarah, and others, all tenants of At the bottom was her own childhood necklace, a silver heart her mother had given her at 10, lost years ago. Emily's breath stopped. How was it here? She hadn't brought it to Westbridge. Footsteps echoed behind her. Claire stood in the doorway, her smile gone, her eyes dark and unreadable. You found it, she said, her voice low, almost sad. I told you, Emily, you're part of this. Emily scrambled to her feet, clutching the box. What are you? Why am I in those photos? Why do you have my necklace? Claire stepped closer, her movement slow, deliberate. I'm what's left of her. The girl who died here. Claire Monroe, 1983. My roommate took everything from me, and now I'm stuck, reliving it. You're here because you're like her, Emily. You carry her guilt, her choices. The apartment knows. I'm not a killer, Emily shouted, backing away. I'm not like whoever did this to you. Claire's eyes softened, but her voice was cold. You don't have to be. You just have to choose. Stay, and it ends with you. Leave, and it follows you, like it followed Lila. She reached out, her fingers brushing the scar on Emily's arm. The touch burned, and Emily gasped, pulling away. The lights flickered, and Claire was gone. Emily's phone buzzed. A voicemail. His voice was rough, urgent. Emily, it's Hayes. I dug into the old files. There was a cover-up in '83. Someone powerful, pulling strings to bury Claire's murder. Don't go back to that apartment. The message cut off, with a crash, then silence. Emily's blood ran cold. She called Hayes back, but it went to voicemail. She tried Jake again. Nothing. Panic clawed at her chest. She grabbed the box and ran to Hayes's house, hoping he could help. The bungalow was dark, the front door ajar. Inside, papers were scattered, a chair overturned. Hayes lay on the floor, blood pooling beneath him, his eyes open and lifeless. Emily screamed, stumbling back. A note was pinned to his chest, in Claire's cursive. He knew too much. Emily ran, the box heavy in her arms, her mind a blur of fear and questions. Claire wasn't just a memory. She was dangerous, manipulating time, space, reality itself. Emily needed to end this, but Lila's words haunted her. Kill or die. She didn't want to believe it, but the scar on her arm, the journal, the necklace, all pointed to a truth she couldn't escape. She was part of the cycle, and Claire wouldn't let her go. Back at the apartment, the door was open, the lights off. Claire sat on the couch, sketching, her face calm. You can't stop it, she said, not looking up. The apartment needs you. I need you. Emily's hand tightened around the key. I'm not playing your game, she said, her voice shaking but firm. I'm going to end this. Claire's smile was sad, almost pitying. You already tried, Emily. Don't you remember? She held up her sketchbook. showing a drawing of Emily standing in the alley behind the complex, a knife in her hand, blood on her shoes. The date August 22. Emily's knees buckled, the sketchbook in Claire's hands blurring as her vision swam, the drawing of herself in the alley, knife in hand, blood on her shoes. Dated August 22. Her pulse roared in her ears, the wooden box of mementos from past tenants heavy in her arms. Claire's voice, soft and pitying, echoed in the dim apartment. You already tried, Emily, don't you remember? The air was thick, the lights flickering, and Emily's scar burned on her arm, a reminder of Lila's warning, kill or die. She stumbled back, the brass key digging into her palm, her mind racing to make sense of the impossible. I didn't do that, Emily whispered, her voice trembling. I wasn't in the alley, I was with Lila then Hayes. Her words faltered as she remembered Hayes's lifeless body, the note in Claire's cursive. He knew too much. Her stomach churned. What are you doing to me? Claire set the sketchbook down, her green eyes glinting in the half-light. I'm not doing anything, Emily. You're doing it to yourself. You've always been part of this. She stepped closer, her footsteps silent, her presence chilling the room. The apartment chose you, because you're like her, the one who killed me in 1983. Her guilt, her rage. It's in you. That's why you're here. Emily shook her head, backing toward the door. I'm not a killer. I'm not her. Claire's smile was sad, almost tender. You don't have to be, but you have to choose. End the cycle, or become it. That's what the apartment wants. That's what I want. Emily's hand tightened on the box, the locket, hairpin, and her own childhood necklace, inside rattling softly. What happened in 1983? Who was she? Claire's expression darkened, her voice dropping to a whisper. Her name was Anna, my best friend. My roommate. She loved me, hated me, wanted to be me. One night she snapped. Jealousy, betrayal. I don't even know why. She stabbed me, left me to bleed out in that room. She pointed to her bedroom, the door slightly ajar. Her guilt trapped me here, a memory that can't leave. Every few years, the apartment finds someone like her, someone with her blood, her soul. You, Emily. Emily's breath hitched. I'm not related to her. I'm not. You are. Claire cut in, her voice sharp. Not by blood, maybe, but by something deeper. The apartment knows. It brought you here to finish what Anna started. Emily's mind flashed to the journal, her own handwriting describing blackouts, a knife. Claire's smile. She remembered Lila's scar, the Polaroids, the photo of herself dated 2003, the blackouts. She said, her voice trembling. You're doing that, making me lose time, making me do things. Claire tilted her head, her smile twisting. I'm not making you do anything. I'm just showing you who you are. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing Emily's scar. The touch was ice cold, sending a jolt through. You've already started, Emily. Jake's gone because of you. Emily's heart stopped. Jake's fine. He texted me. Claire laughed, a sound that echoed unnaturally. Did he, or did I? She held up Emily's phone stolen from her pocket. Without her notice, the screen showed the text from Jake. I'm okay. Got out through the back. Claire's thumb swiped, revealing another photo. Jake in the alley slumped against a dumpster, blood pooling beneath him. You don't remember, do you? Claire whispered. You were there. Emily's vision blurred, her knees giving out. She sank to the floor, the box tumbling from her arms. No. She gasped. I didn't. I couldn't. But the memory flickered. Unbidden, a flash of cold air, the weight of a knife in her hand. Jake's wide eye. It felt real, but impossible. She clutched her head, trying to separate truth from Claire's manipulation. You're lying, she said, her voice breaking. You're making me see this. Claire knelt beside her, her face soft, but her eyes cold. I can't make you see what isn't there. The apartment shows you the truth. You can end it, Emily. One life, one choice, and I'm free. You're free. Emily scrambled to her feet, grabbing the box, and running to her room. She locked the door, her breath ragged. The journal lay on her bed, open to a new entry she hadn't seen. August 22nd. I can't stop it. Claire's right. It's in me. The words were in her handwriting, but she hadn't written them, or had she? She opened the box, pulling out the objects. Rachel's hairpin, Lisa's ring, Sarah's locket, her own necklace. Each was a piece of the cycle, a tether to the apartment's curse. She remembered Lila's words. The apartment's cursed. Claire's a memory, replaying the betrayal. But there was something else, something Lila hadn't known. The journal mentioned a ritual scrawled in the margins. To break the cycle, blood must be shed. But not taken. Forgiveness. Not vengeance. It was vague, cryptic. But it was a lifeline. Emily's phone buzzed. A news alert. Local man found dead in Westbridge home. It was Hayes. The article confirming what she'd seen. Suspected foul play. No suspects. Her hands shook. Claire was tying up loose ends. And Emily was not. She needed to find Jake. To prove he was alive. To prove she wasn't a killer. She texted him again, begging for a response. But nothing came. She crept out of her room. The apartment eerily quiet. Claire was gone, but the air felt heavy. The walls pulsing with an unseen energy. Emily searched Claire's room, finding her sketchbook. The drawings were worse than before. Emily in the alley. Emily standing over Hayes. Emily holding a knife. Over a sleeping figure she didn't recognize. Each was dated tonight. The ink still wet. The ritual in the journal was her only chance. She gathered the box, the journal, and the key. Heading to the hidden crawl space behind the living room panel, the symbols on the box glowed faintly, as if responding to her touch. She knelt, opening the journal to the ritual. Blood to bind. Forgiveness to break. Swak the truth. Return what was taken. It didn't make sense, but she had to try. She pricked her finger with a pin from the box, letting a drop of blood fall onto the symbols. The air shimmered, and a memory hit her, not hers, but Claire. A flash of 1983, Claire laughing in the apartment, her roommate Anna watching with envy, an argument, a knife, blood pooling on the floor, Anna's sobs, her guilt, her plea. I didn't mean to. The vision faded, leaving Emily gasped. Claire wasn't just a memory, she was a wound, festering in the apartment's walls. Emily whispered, I'm sorry, Claire, for what Anna did, for what happened. The words felt hollow, but the air shifted. The lights flickering, a shadow moved behind her. Claire. Her face pale, her eyes wide. You can't just say it, Claire said, her voice trembling. You have to mean it, and you have to pay. She lunged, her fingers wrapping around Emily's wrist, cold and unyielding. Emily screamed, pulling free, but the room spun, her vision darkened. She was in the alley again, the knife in her hand, Jake's body at her feet. But this time she saw Claire's shadow guiding her hand, whispering, do it. No, Emily shouted, wrenching herself back to the apartment. She was on the floor. The box opened, the objects glowing faintly. Claire stood over her, her form flickering, like a signal losing strength. I won't kill for you, Emily said, her voice steady despite her fear. I forgive Anna. I forgive you. Claire's face twisted, a mix of rage and pain. You can't, she screamed, her voice echoing through the walls. The apartment shook, books falling, lights shattering. Emily clutched the box, her blood smearing the symbols, and repeated, I forgive you. Claire's form wavered, her eyes filling with tears. You don't understand, she whispered. I don't want to be free. The shaking stopped, and Claire vanished, leaving Emily alone in the dark. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jake. I'm alive, hiding, meet me at the library. Relief flooded her. But it was short-lived. The ritual hadn't worked. Not fully. Claire was still here, still fighting. Emily grabbed the box and ran to the library. The campus dark and quiet. Jake was in the archive room, bruised but alive, his eyes wild. She came for me, he said, his voice shaking. In the alley. I got away, but she's not human, Emily. I know, Emily said, setting the box down. She showed him the journal, the ritual. We have to finish this tonight. They spread the objects out. Emily's blood still wet on the box. The ritual needed more. Forgiveness wasn't enough. It needed a sacrifice, not of life, but of something deeper. Emily's eyes fell on her childhood necklace, the silver heart. It was hers, but also part of the cycle, a tether to Claire's pain. She held it up, her voice steady. Claire, I'm giving this back. Your pain, your anger, I'm letting it go. She dropped the necklace into the box, her blood mixing with the objects. The air crackled, and Claire appeared, her form faint, her face anguished. You can't break it, Claire whispered, not without me. Emily stepped forward, her heart pounding. Then come with me, end it together. She reached out, her hand passing through Claire's, but the touch sparked a vision. Claire's death, Anna's guilt, the apartment swallowing them both. Emily pulled back, gasping, and saw Claire's form dissolve, her voice a faint echo. "You'll see me again." The box glowed, then went dark. The air stilled. Jake grabbed her arm. "Is it over?" Emily shook her head, her eyes on the box. Not yet. She knew Claire wasn't gone. Not completely. The cycle was weakening, but it wasn't broken. And as they left the library, the key in her pocket grew warm, a reminder that the apartment wasn't done with her.
Emily stood in the dim archive room of the Westbridge University Library, her breath shallow, the wooden box of mementos cold under her fingers. The air was still, the faint glow from the carved symbols on the box fading into darkness. Jake, bruised and shaken, stared at her, his question hanging between them. "Is it over?" Emily's eyes lingered on the box. Rachel's hairpin, Lisa's ring, Sarah's locket, and her own childhood necklace, all tied to the apartment's curse. The brass key in her pocket was warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. Claire's final words, "You'll see me again," echoed in her mind. A promise and a threat. The ritual had weakened the cycle. But it wasn't broken. Not yet. "I don't know," Emily admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But we can't stop now." She clutched the journal, its pages filled with her handwriting, describing blackouts and moments she didn't remember. The ritual's cryptic instructions: blood to bind, forgiveness to break, to the truth, return what was taken, had brought her this far. But Claire's lingering presence meant there was more to do. Jake's encounter in the alley, Hayes's death, the Polaroids dated before her birth, all pointed to a truth she couldn't escape. She was tied to Claire, to Anna, to the apartment's bloody history. Jake ran a hand through his hair, his eyes darting to the door. "She almost killed me, Emily. Whatever she is, she's not done. What's the plan?" Emily opened the journal, her fingers trembling. The ritual's final line was smudged, but clear enough. "The cycle ends where it began. The apartment," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "We have to go back to 3. That's where Claire died, where Anna killed her. It's the only place this can end." Jake's face paled. "You're kidding. After everything, Hayes, the alley, those photos, you want to go back?" "I don't want to," Emily snapped, her fear sharpening her words. "But running won't stop her. Lila ran, and she's still haunted. We finish this, or it follows us forever." She stuffed the box and journal into her backpack, the key burning against her thigh. "You don't have to come, but I need to." Jake hesitated, then nodded. But if we die, I'm blaming you." They left the library, the campus dark and silent, the streetlights flickering as they walked. The apartment complex loomed ahead, its brick facade unassuming in the moonlight, but heavy with menace. Emily's scar throbbed, a reminder of Lila's warning, "Kill or die." She pushed the thought away, focusing on the ritual. Forgiveness had weakened Claire, but it wasn't enough. There had to be a way to break the cycle without blood. Inside the complex, the hallway was too quiet, the air cold and thick. Emily's hand shook as she unlocked the door to 3B. The apartment was dark, the furniture casting long shadows. Claire wasn't there, but her presence lingered, the faint smell of burned sugar, the echo of her laugh. Emily set the box on the living room floor, opening it to reveal the mementos. Jake stood by the door, his flashlight trembling. "This place gives me the creeps," he muttered. Emily knelt by the hidden panel in the living room, the one she'd found with the key. The crawl space was still there, its walls etched with the same spiraling symbols as the box. She ran her fingers over them, feeling a faint hum, like the apartment was alive. "This is where it started," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Claire's murder, Anna's guilt, it's all here." She opened the journal, reading the ritual aloud. "Blood to bind,
Forgiveness to break. Speak the truth. Return what was taken. She pricked her finger again, letting a drop of blood fall onto the symbols in the crawl space. The air shimmered, and a vision hit her. Claire in 1983, laughing with Anna in this room, their friendship bright but fraying, Anna's eyes filled with envy, watching Claire shine, a flash of a knife. Claire's scream, blood soaking the floor, Anna's sobs, her whispered apology. I didn't mean to. The vision faded, leaving Emily gasping, her scar burning. She's here, Jake whispered, his flashlight flickering. The temperature dropped, frost creeping up the window. Claire appeared in the corner, her form faint, her green eyes glowing. You can't stop it, she said, her voice echoing through the walls. You're Anna, Emily. You always have been. I'm not her, Emily shouted, standing. I forgave you, Claire. I gave back the necklace. Let it go. Claire's face twisted, a mix of pain and rage. You think words are enough, Anna said. She was sorry too. It didn't save me. She stepped closer, her form flickering like static. The apartment needs blood, yours or someone else's. Jake grabbed Emily's arm, pulling her back. She's trying to mess with you. Don't listen. But Emily's eyes were on the box, the mementos glowing faintly. The ritual said, return what was taken. Claire's life was taken, but so was her peace, her chance to move on. Emily's heart pounded as she realized what it meant. It's not about killing, she said, her voice trembling, but certain. It's about giving you back what Anna stole. Your forgiveness, your freedom. Claire's form wavered, her eyes widening. You can't. I don't want it. Emily stepped forward, her hand outstretched. I'm not Anna, but I'm sorry for what she did. I forgive her. And I forgive you, Claire. You don't have to stay here. She dropped her childhood necklace into the crawl space, her blood smearing the symbols. The air crackled, the walls shake. Claire screamed, her form fracturing, pieces of her dissolving into light. The apartment groaned, lights shattering, furniture sliding across the floor. Jake yanked Emily back, as a crack split the ceiling, dust raining down. We need to get out, he shouted, but Emily held her ground, her eyes locked on Claire's fading form. Claire, let go, Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. You're free. Claire's scream became a sob, her body collapsing into a shimmer of light. The shaking stopped, the air stilling. The symbols on the box and crawl space went dark, the mementos dull and lifeless. Emily's scar stopped burning, the key in her pocket cold once more. She sank to her knees, exhausted, the journal falling open to a blank page. Jake helped her up, his face pale. Is she gone? Emily nodded, though doubt lingered. I think so, but we need to leave, now. They stumbled out of the apartment, the hallway eerily quiet. As they reached the street, a spark flickered inside 3B, and flames erupted, licking up the wall. Emily froze, watching as the fire spread, the complex alarms blaring. Jake pulled her away, sirens wailing in the distance. Come on, he said, his voice urgent. It's over. They watched from across the street as firefighters battled the blaze, the apartment consumed in minutes. The official report later called it an electrical fault, but Emily knew better. The apartment had burned itself out, taking Claire's curse with it. Or so she hoped. She and Jake moved into a dorm on campus, the university covering the cost. After the fire, Emily tried to settle back into her routine. Classes, coffee runs, late-night study sessions. But the weight of 3B lingered. She kept the journal, its pages now blank, and the key, which she couldn't bring herself to throw away. Jake didn't talk about it, but she saw the fear in his eyes whenever they passed the charred remains of the complex. A week later, Emily sat in her new dorm room, unpacking the last of her things. The campus was alive with the hum of students, the normalcy, almost jarring after the nightmare of She opened a drawer to store her books, and her breath caught. The brass key was there, nestled among her pens, its surface warm again. She hadn't brought it. She'd left it in her backpack, locked in a box under her bed. Her phone buzzed, A text from an unknown number. You're never alone. Attached was a photo of her new dorm room, taken from above her bed, her sleeping form unaware. In the corner, faint but unmistakable, was Claire's shadow, smiling. Emily's scream echoed through the dorm, the key falling from her hand as the lights flickered, and the cycle whispered its return. Emily's scream faded into the stillness of her dorm room, the brass key glinting on the floor. Where it fell, the photo on her phone, her sleeping, Claire's shadow looming, burned into her mind, a chilling reminder that the curse of Unit 3B wasn't gone, only displayed. The apartment was ash, but Claire's presence, her pain had followed Emily, tethered to the key. To her, the cycle wasn't broken. It was waiting. She grabbed the key, her hands shaking, and stuffed it into a drawer, slamming it shut. The journal, now blank, sat on her desk, a silent taunt. Jake was safe. The fire had erased the evidence, but Emily knew the truth. Claire's memory, Anna's guilt, and her own role in their story were unfinished. Every creak of the dorm, every flicker of light, felt like Claire, watching, whispering, "You're never alone." Emily didn't sleep that night, or the next. She kept the lights on, her eyes on the drawer, knowing she'd have to face the key again. The apartment was gone, but the choice, kill or die, forgive or fall, still hung over her. And somewhere, in the shadows of Westbridge, Claire waited for her to choose.